What is going on, All Terrain Nation? Tonight, it's Thursday. That means it's the happy hour presented by, I don't know, us, I guess.
Us.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Thursday to everyone here. Tonight, we got an interesting show. Kelly really has no idea of,
Nope.
I've slightly prepped her about the topic, but other than that, she has
He
no idea.
told me I needed to prep, and I said, "Hey, I've got a work life before this show at night, so I don't have time."
Let your real job pay for this job.
It is currently paying for this job.
Anyways, welcome to the happy hour. If you do not know, if you're new to this channel, my name is David Boyd, alongside my beautiful co-host Kelly Boyd.
In
We're
our
in
jazz
auto journalists here on YouTube, and we like all things automotive, from cars, trucks, you name it, especially trucks. This one here has a thing for V8 trucks that she really likes.
I have a special place in my heart for speedy, fast cars too.
Okay, there. So tonight we're going to talk about some EVs, because I've said it many times on these shows. I'm not a big. I don't follow EVs a lot, just because for a while it was just Nissan and Tesla, and it was just kind of boring, honestly. Like, I don't get excited by Tesla. Our daughter loves Teslas. Anytime she sees one, she has to point it out. Though I don't
And
know.
when we're on the road, we go, "We just saw a Tesla."
Yeah, well, because we're assholes and we like to like rub it in our nose a little bit.
Sure.
But they've just never. I've never gotten excited by them for some reason. Are they a good looking car? I think so. What do you think? You like the Teslas you see?
I like them. I wish they would branch out and make them look a little bit different between the models, a little bit more than what they do. But other than that, I think they look good.
Yeah, Dave looks chilly. Dave worked outside all day.
He was outside all day today, so he's still, like when the cold gets down to your bones and like you're just cold and it takes forever. I think that's kind of where he is right now.
Tonight I will be partaking in a nice Booker's. Cigar Texan bought me this. I was just reminiscing in the chat while we were waiting. I think it was 2 years ago he bought this and sent it up. So
I think it was like the first person to send anything.
Him or Honest.
Yeah,
and
one of the two.
He was like, I figured you'd polish that off by now. And I was like, no, when everybody sends these bottles like this, I savor them. And my daily, if it were, would be the Jack single barrel. But no, those are for showtime. Those are fun. So cheers, everybody. Welcome to the happy hour. First off,
I'm on a Sugarland's moonshine mixed drink tonight. I don't want to know how much sugar's in them. It's just, it was easy.
Yeah, well, sometimes life. But tonight, there is some news. I want to kind of go over something that we had. I won't say we broke, but we were one of the first to get to this, and it was the Ford Ranger Raptor.
You're dreaming again about Ford Bronco truck.
Yeah, I am dreaming about those. But I want to throw up some pictures here, and we'll just kind of go over it quickly, because I have the Sunday show is coming. And the Saturday show. See, I don't even know what day it is, Kelly.
See, and you just started that last week, and I know it's on Saturdays.
But so this week we're going to do it at 10 a.m. Central. So we're going to do a mid-sized truck show, and if I can figure out how to compute, I will. Holy jeebies, what's going on here?
That's your planned tonight.
Well, I did, but I forgot to actually prep this. The opening part of the show, right? What everybody's that's when the numbers are there. And,
rookie thingies.
What to do with my pictures?
I don't know.
Anyways, here, I can do this a lot easier.
Yeah, why don't you bring it up on the socials? That's easier.
I know. Oh, Kelly, tell us about your day. What's going on? Why stall here?
Hey, Nurse AJ, welcome in. We don't. On happy hour nights, we don't do the whole big O intro because the show's a little bit shorter, but I did see a whole lot of friendly faces in the chat, and I did see some new faces in the chat. So we're glad to have you. Welcome in. We also do Bronco Talk live on Mondays.
Got some good guests coming up. Really good guests coming up.
We do we do exclusive Bronco on Mondays. So that's actually what we do. So Thursdays are our just talk about vehicles in general, and then Saturday he does mid-side truck Saturday morning. So
Allie Dubois is in the house. She says she's driving home from work. Well,
voice.
I don't know. I've heard it both ways.
She's told us Du Bois, but it should be Dubois, is what she said.
Okay, Du Bois
Du Bois.
is in here along with.
So welcome in. We are glad to have you all tonight. And hello, Jason K.
So this is the photo. These are some of the photos that got probably somebody fired, to be honest. And I never want to see anybody get fired, but sometimes they spoil what the plans are coming. And you know, Kelly, we had gotten a lot of messages about, hey, that's I know, Allie, number one, remember that.
Take a shot.
But we got these photos were sent to us by somebody I can't say, and Ranger 6G or whatever come at me like, hey, you could have gave us credit for those, and I was like, I didn't get these from you guys.
They did not come from Ranger 6G.
And then when we posted them on the socials, and I didn't even do a video because we were doing a stream that was Monday. We were doing
Bronco Talk Live,
and I had to record a video right after that show. And I had people reaching out, hey man, can you remove those please? Because, you know, I that's a buddy of mine. He shouldn't have done that, this and that. And by that point,
it was too late.
Yeah, it was way too late.
And it wasn't our leak. Let's just be very clear. We were sent them and they were already starting to pop up in places. So we were not the catalyst for those things getting everywhere. And no, it was not Allie. It absolutely was not Allie. It's no one you know associated with the show, is what we'll say.
Yeah. Nobody that's publicly associated with the show. And they got some people in trouble, but it was nice to just quickly get onto this. It was nice to see this truck pop up. You guys know I'm super excited by this. I think Kelly will be, because you like trucks.
I do.
So, and I think a high output engine will be kind of fun in this thing. But quickly, the sides of it, and then I'm going to pull this up. As you can see, the dual exhaust tips. I love that. These tow hooks are horrible to me.
Yeah, they're not beefy enough to me.
Well, no, but it's just a bar that goes across there.
Like I said, they're not beefy enough.
But it's not good. But anyways, that's all right. Things we could change with ours. But I want to pull up some other photos. Well, okay. We're going to go over to Mr. Pickup Truck plus SUV Talk. Our buddy Tim Esterthal over there. And if I can find in his maze of
right there
website. So Tim was nice enough, and I'm gonna put this in the show over here. So you guys, if you want to follow Tim along on this, Tim was nice enough to link us to these photos, and then he has some photos, maybe if they load on his own. Let's see here. Sorry, y'all.
Yeah, he's producing.
Yeah, I know, because Kelly's not.
You know why? Because he has control issues. That's why.
It is true.
That's why we get along so well, because we both have control issues in different ways, traditionally.
But let's add these to the stream there, and movie magic. I would make this bigger, but it's just being a pain in the ass. But suddenly after the fact, Ford has these sitting around Target and places, and what they're trying to do is divert attention from those inside photos. They're trying to divert attention.
Yeah.
You know, hey, come back over here. Hey, here, because what'll happen occasionally, and I say this occasionally, these things get the spy photographers are told when and where something will be. So you know, and of course I know Tim, that's why these are watermarked, because Tim had to pay for these photos. I'm just not in the cool class of can afford these photos just yet. So
right.
That's why we don't buy these photos. But it was kind of neat to see that about this thing. The problem I've had, and I had some Australians reach out on that video, and they start talking about, hey, that's old news, and you're like,
it's old news for you.
It's and like the math, Australian math is hilarious to me, because they're like, yeah, that truck's been out for 2 years, and I'm like, no, that truck, you guys just got that truck like 7 months ago. Let's not act like this thing is like been out there forever.
But let's be honest, the last 3 years have been a cluster.
Yes.
So to me, what did I tell you the other night? I was sitting on the couch and I went, shit, what year is it? And I had to look at my phone to find out what year it was. And I may have told you all this on Bronco Talk Live, but so I get where the math kind of gets a little wonky sometimes, you know, so maybe I'm going to play that in their defense that maybe it's one of the last 3 years that they're just kind of behind on.
Michael Nice.
No.
I can't comment, buddy, but I'm with you. But yeah, these photos do get out, and I do think it was a strategic thing. I think Tim even talks about it in his video that, hey, we got to divert. We don't want, the spoiler of those photos. It's not like it's been a secret that we know Farley has said, hey, the American audience is getting that truck. So it's not like it was like a surprise, like, oh my God.
Right.
And even Mike Levine in his Instagram, and I think I posted this on Bronco Talk, was walking around one that's in their headquarters. It's not like a big surprise, but when you take photos inside the plant, those are there's trade zone restrictions. There's a lot of things that people just think, oh, I work here. Like, this doesn't matter. It's that weird Napster culture.
Yeah.
Now, as a journalist, I love when these things pop up because it's fun to talk about. I used to work in a plant, so it's kind of fun for me to see behind the scenes a little bit and go, oh, I wonder how this works.
Or how that was different and where you worked and things like that.
But yeah, I just I kind of feel for Ford on this one because the reveal's coming. I still think we might see it at Chicago, and you guys know if we do, I'm probably going to cry like a baby and walk around it and point out how awesome it is and do probably 16 videos on it and maybe try to sleep in the bed of it that night because they'll probably run me out. But anyways, but yes. I'm excited by that vehicle. And
that whole overnight you did in the Bronco, you're going to do it in the Raptor that you don't own?
F no.
That you don't own?
That I don't own. Well, at least a mattress will fit in the back of this thing. But I'm for excited. But then there was some other news, and I got to bring it up. I got to do the old Googles because once again, I had all the show prepped over here and not over here.
Slacker. Rookie move.
Chevrolet.
You misspelled that. I watched it. You sure did.
I know I still did, but it got it there, didn't it?
Did you close everything that was over here?
No, it's just hidden right now.
Okay.
So Chevrolet today, they're dropping hints of a Meteor. So, Ford had the Raptor, Kelly, which is a fun name. I think it's an aggressive name for an aggressive truck. It took Ram like 10 years to decide they want to do something. Mm-hmm. And what'd they call theirs? The T-Rex.
I was
TRX.
like, is that what you're talking about?
Yes. And so there's this weird dinosaur play on all of this. And then Chevy's finally, I've done a couple videos on this. Chevy, I think General Motors as a whole knows the EV thing's not going to work out how they want to, because suddenly they're talking V8s again. There was a story came out this week about, hey, we're designing the next generation V8s. And you're like, well, that's a head scratcher because you cannot
Yeah, because Chrysler just got rid of all of their
V8s
not yet. For the most part.
Not yet, but
they're getting rid of their V8s.
And so Chevy now, like, this is an easy thing to this is a rendering, by the way, but it's a easy thing to now go, oh shit, we've got this monster truck coming, like this we're gonna call it the Meteor, because what killed off the dinosaurs, as the headline said? The Meteor. Now Chevy,
pretty good tagline, I'm just gonna say.
No, it's great, but Chevy and all their brilliance, they have it's not like they don't have the technology, but even like the ZR2 it's a monster truck, but it's kind of only halfway there. They just didn't commit to it. And yes, they do a Bison version of this where they partner with, what is it, AEV to make a bigger truck, but it's still not horsepower wise. I think it's like 500 horsepower or something. It's not in the category of the hyper trucks or the super trucks, as I like to call them. And so if talks are true that they are looking to do a T-Rex, take on those big boys, man. I know you would be excited by that, right?
I would be very excited about it.
And why would this be?
Oh, I love the rumbly rumblies. I'll be honest. Like that's what does it for me, is the rumbly rumblies. I mean, in cars and trucks, like that's what does it, is the engine. Yeah. And so, we talk about EVs and things like that, and are they gonna do their thing? Are they gonna be successful? Are they gonna be all these things? We've driven a couple EVs, and they just don't. They go, but they just don't do the full experience for me. They don't give me the full experience. because you don't have the rumbly. I mean,
So-
call me old fashioned, but
So Allie sent me some photos of the Ranger Raptor spotted in the wild today. I'll try to get these. I'll put these up over here in just a second. It's an old
I'll pull them.
last generation Ranger. Here I've got it.
You
But
totally ruined my whole conversation I was having there.
You can continue on, lady.
No, it's too late now.
But yeah, I know you like the GUR. And that's one of the bummers. We had talked about why you're always like, well, you don't like how the Bronco sounds, or it should be a little quieter. It doesn't sound like it should. And
there's a fine line between. I'm gonna get blown up in the chat for this. There's a fine line between girthy and like heavy duty, like rumble, and quiet enough.
Yeah,
like there's got to be that balance for me.
Right.
Like I don't want to every time I'm driving down the road hear a or like I don't want to hear the riciness of it. So I don't want that. I don't want that fake.
How dare you call a Big 3 ricey?
You put it on there.
I know. I think it sounds great, and most of our viewers do. As you can see here, somebody stamped a Raptor badge on this old Ranger, and so yeah, they're out there in the wild now. But
it was in Brighton today. Allie said
I like the fact that GM and Ford had a battle for a long time. Like they, as two truck companies, they've really back and forth. Now Ford has always outsold them, and it's kind of confusing because if GMC was put together with Chevrolet as here's how many we sell as a whole, probably Chevrolet would outdo Ford. But for whatever goofy reason, Chevrolet's just like, nah, we're good. We don't need to combine all those numbers.
Yeah, I still don't get it. Like we've talked about this too. Like my dad. My parents are both General Motors retirees, and my dad would talk about like it just doesn't make a ton of sense. There's very few things that they change going down the line at a GM plant. Will have Chevy run down the line, and then they will have a GM run down the line. Now, this is obviously back in the 2000s, the 90s, so maybe things have changed a little bit since then from that perspective on their production, but he would say like the only difference on some of these vehicles is literally stamping a Chevy on it versus a GM.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't make any sense to me as to why they continue to separate their numbers when you're really talking about the same vehicle.
I mean, technically they are two different companies
they are.
But yeah, no, I for years said they don't need GMC.
Well, but we've talked about this too, is when we talked about the difference between the was it the full size night or what? We were talking full size that night, right? Where we were comparing the Chevy, the GM, the Toyotas, all that fun stuff. I think it was full size trucks, weren't we? I like the GMC better than the Chevy. It used to be there wasn't a huge difference, but there is now, to me, the difference in the front ends.
Yes.
So there is a difference from that perspective. So I'll be curious to see if there's ever a battle to it as to which one will win out.
Well, I mean, Chevrolet's always winning out. The sales aren't even close, but that's why I've always GMC's been odd to me because they might sell 3,000 to 4,000 trucks of one model a year or a month, which is, I mean, still better than Nissan, but they're not. They're very pedestrian numbers. When Toyota's outselling this truck, I mean, because let's be honest, they can do a luxury version of a Chevy Silverado. They do it. They do a high country in those now, so it's not like they couldn't blend those in. But anyways, that's a topic for another show. But I am excited once again that they're at least talking about doing something to battle these two super trucks.
Pretty much, Jeff. Like in my world, for the most part, definitely if you're no offense to those 4 cylinders out there or anything like that, but if you're I gotta have some rumblies with my 6. Yeah.
Okay. So but no, we've had plenty of V6s, the Frontiers we've had have always been fairly peppy little trucks.
My Maxima was a V6.
Yeah. So you're not hating on V6.
No, I'm not hating. I'm saying anything less than a V6 for me is just like, as my dad would say, it's the hamsters under the hood making the car go. Is what he told me. Yep.
Well, we've got Jordan Parker on stream tonight, which is Jordan will be live from with us Monday from King of Hammers. So that should
be. And as it stands right now, I should actually be on the live Monday.
Damn it. Sorry, Allie. We really tried to get her off the show.
Wow. I mean, I don't have to. I can sit on the couch downstairs.
Hey,
if y'all don't want
It
me.
was Allie's idea. I swear, Kelly. I swear.
It's fine. I can sit on the couch, and yes, you can still talk about what you asked if you could talk about, Allie.
Yes. No. But it's once again, and we say thank you for Jordan for being on that show, and we have Chase Gentry, who you guys know over the past I've been a little iffy about. I've had some viewers reach out to me asking us to interviewing, and he's been super nice. He's been very nice. I reached out to him last night, and he was like, "Yeah, let's do this." So I was very happy that he was very nice, and we've had good back and forth, and so it should be fun. Let's see. Any questions or comments about these things? Jordan, what was he saying? Yukon over the Suburban. I mean, yeah, but it's supposed to be that way, Jordan. I mean, GMC right now, the way it's structured is the Cadillac for those vehicles. Cadillac, I don't even know about Cadillac anymore. They keep changing everything. But
I mean, they have $80,000-$90,000 cars. I mean,
but you know how GM works. To wrap this one up, if GM does make this Meteor, GMC is going to have an AT4X version of it, right? Like they can't just make one truck, leave it special. That's where Ram wins out. I mean, not like Ram has 16 different truck lines, and that's where Ford wins out. It's just a singular focus. But with the ZR2, they can't be singular focus. Oh, because we got to make the AT4X version of that for GMC. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, in before we pivot, let's talk about the name. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the name Meteor.
No,
I mean, I get their thought process. It's going to be the meteor that comes in, and like I said, I like the play on the title. I get it. The writer was like, "Ooh, this is an opportunity," and I like the play on words.
Mm-hmm.
But I just, for a vehicle, I just don't dig Meteor. Maybe it'll grow on me. I don't know, but it's not my favorite.
Well, too many names for one thing, because you'll have a Chevy Silverado ZR2 Meteor.
Yeah, that's not going to work for me.
Where if it's just the Ford F-150 Raptor.
Yeah.
Or the Ranger Raptor. You know what I mean? Which is still a lot of in there. But yeah.
The Titan Pro 4X or those types of things. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. If they do take it seriously, though, and GM, for whatever reason, they've never taken off-road that serious.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't feel like it. Yes, now in the Colorado, they do the ZR2, the older ZR2, which was a nice little beast, but it was very mundane as far as it didn't get any extra power. You did get front and rear lockers, which was nice, full skids. The last generation was a little bit beefier, but it wasn't that crazy to me for what it cost. Where I think Ranger Raptor is going to be nice because the fenders are big and nice, and the new ZR2 Bison that we're seeing, those fenders are big and nice. So,
well, I will say though, you said that they're not taking it seriously. Historically, they're not taking it seriously, but I think we're seeing in the marketing that they're starting to take it seriously and realize that they're missing the market there from an off-road perspective, because you see in the ads they're being more aggressive, and
off-road sales,
the new lines that they're seeing come out, and it's curious to me that if we're starting to see an improve in off-road vehicle sales based upon the last couple of years of people just wanting to get out, or whether they're wanting to have a new aggressive vehicle, or that'd be curious to me over the scheme of things of why people bought an off-road vehicle versus
Toyota's definitely catered to overlanders.
Oh, for sure.
That's why the 4Runner's still around. I think if it wasn't for overlanding, I think the 4Runner, I mean, now the sales are 200,000. They still sell a ton of it, but I think part of that is you probably take good 30 to 40% of those sales are probably because the overland community continues to buy it. It's just, it's Toyota, so they don't tear up. I think that's kind of what saved that, at the time, especially in overlanding. I think about 12 years ago is when you started hearing the word overlanding. Usually there was those weirdos that just like to be in the Unimogs, and they did their,
which are really badass if you ever see one in person.
But which were, African travel or way out in Australia. Like it was much like the Ranger Raptor to us right now. It was like so unobtainable. You could almost touch it, but you couldn't get there. And so when the overland community started coming to the America, that kind of travel, it started opening up. Toyota started, let's focus into that. Nissan, depending on who's running the company, sometimes they seem to focus in on that. Sometimes they don't. Chevrolet with the Colorado was, with the partnership with AEV, like they started to okay, let's cater to those people a little bit. So now all these companies are into off-road vehicles, and where's the off-road SUV right now? The pure SUV, it's just the Toyota right now.
Yep.
I mean, you guys know I love Broncos to death, but I wouldn't call it a pure overland style SUV vehicle. It's a hybrid of everything. You can definitely overland in it and have a lot of fun, but if you want a solid roof, something that you don't have to worry about weather ever leaking through the thing or any complications, you can bolt up 16 gas tanks to the thing, 500 floodlights all around it. The Toyota is the way to go on that.
Wow.
But GM, to wrap this up, GM has always just sort of dip their toes in it, especially big trucks. They just sort of like, hey, we're playing in that field, and then people don't take them seriously.
Looks like it was mentioned that GM never learns their lesson and late to the party. Blew it with the 04 GTO and then recently with the Blazer. Yeah, I mean, talking about an SUV that blew it, like the Blazer, yeah, they missed the mark on the Blazer.
The only thing I say about Blazer, why they missed the mark, is a nameplate. It's not it's not like they haven't used that nameplate. I mean, you had the Trailblazer all through the early 2000s. They did have the Blazers in the 90s.
The Blazers in the 90s were much more capable than the Blazers of today.
Those S10 based Blazers were
remember the one we had?
Yeah, with a little tank.
Yeah.
That one, what was funny about, we had it was a 04,
02 or 03.
Somewhere in there.
I don't know.
But we had a 2-door Blazer, and you talk about going from being in more modern vehicles into that little 2-door thing. You're just like, and I love 2-door sports cars.
But the interior didn't feel that old if you think about it.
But I remember because I wanted, in high school, I wanted a 2-door Blazer. I thought those looked badass. They used to put these big wheels on them, these big aluminum wheels on them. They looked really cool. They were stamped 4-wheel drive in the wheels. They just looked cool. And I remember as a kid they made a 4-door, and I was like, who wants a 4-door? I want that 2-door. It looks badass. And now when we had that one, I was just kind of like, we had obviously 2 kids.
We also had 2 kids in a 2-door with 4 seats.
This thing is tight.
It was tight. But remember, we were all a little bit smaller back in high school too, and I may not have been. Yeah. Yes, Michael Rivas, you did. So take a shot.
Oh, because I said Allie, number 1.
There's number 2.
Drink up, everybody. But I'm going to be excited to talk to Jordan, though, because he's at King of Hammers, something I keep getting invited to, and the timing is never right for me because now Chicago Auto Show is just right around that corner. We'll be there. We'll be in Chicago next week while this event's going on. I do have in the rookie class, though, we do have some friends out there.
Yes.
Camacho Motorsports, Nestor Camacho being an Xterra in the rookie class, and he's had a hell of a time trying to get there.
I haven't followed too much because I've been so busy this week.
It's been breakdown after breakdown of trailers, and then they about lost some of their wheels.
Once they got on the road?
Yeah.
Oh.
They about lost some of the tires coming off not off the vehicle. They're spare tires.
Oh, man.
Nestor's had a smile on his face the whole time. So.
He always does.
I know. He's a happy dude. Excuse me. But tonight's show, we want to talk about some electric vehicles, and what
Only
I want
30 minutes in.
I know what I want to do with this topic is, for one, I'm never going to come at you once again like I know everything about EV. I don't know anything truly about EV, but that's why I like to do these shows, is because I learn. Sometimes you guys bring up great questions. Oh, wait. Yes. The Cyclone was such a badass, but it was spelled with an S. Yes, and the
oh, wait, that was the S10, wasn't it? A Cyclone?
Well, the Cyclone, and then there was the I get the two mixed up. The two two-door.
Up.
No, I don't want to.
We're on a car show.
We're on a car show, but let's see, Cyclone, and what was the other? Not the Tornado. The Cyclone was the truck, and then they made for a short time they made a S10 based SUV one. They'll bring it in before you get to it. What is the anyways? But so I want to get into EVs. Man, focus is all over the place tonight. But I want to get into this EV talk, Kelly, because for one, I know little, and I like I said, it's a whole new. It's like learning space technology to me, because it's not super interesting to me. Because of the whole there's the I love that modern take of the Cyclone, what somebody's kind of come up with. I think it's really cool. But the Typhoon, that's what it was, the Typhoon. The EV's like learning space talk, Kelly, because it's a whole, you can't use miles per gallon anymore. And then you got to understand, you got to be an electrical engineer to understand how the batteries and all that. And I find that super boring. But what I like about them is it's the vehicles that look like the future, which we were promised. We were promised, hey, this, flying cars and this and that.
Right.
And that was exciting as a kid. And the idea of electric, I remember as a teenage driver, I would have never thought, holy shit, we're going to drive electric vehicles. Now, had I heard of them? Yes. Early vehicles were electric, and then just gas power, whatever reason, the gas powered won out. But so I want to bring these up, and we're going to go through some of these tonight, and I want you guys' opinion on them. Now, we have to start this with I won't say the person that really kicked it off, but they kind of did kick it off, and that is Tesla. Now, they call this an SUV, the Model X.
That's
it's very subjective what they call an SUV, but it is what they have. And once again, we were talking earlier, you said styling. You kind of wish they might do something a little bit more. And you come to this, once again, you don't pay attention to Tesla. You don't pay attention to this thing. But initially, where are you at with this? Now, we see the figures down at the bottom. 0 to 60 and any EV, that's where they tout, oh my God, 0 to 60, a millisecond. You left your teeth back there when you stomped on the accelerator.
God.
Grandpa's, his depends and his teeth are in where he started from. But where are you at with this? What do you think of it? And give your opinions.
I don't think it's an SUV by any means. I think it's a crossover at best.
Yes.
Honestly, if I saw this on the road, I wouldn't even tell you that it was even trying to compete with the SUV market, because that to me is not an SUV. An SUV for me is a much larger back end with actually able to put things in it instead of just a trunk. I don't mind it. I would drive it. I would miss my rumblies, but I would drive it. I mean, of course, it's aerodynamic because you've got to do it to get your best aerodynamics. That's the word. Thank you. The best aerodynamics you can. So I get why the shape of the vehicles are mostly the same, but 330-mile range.
That's not bad in an EV.
It's not terrible.
Of course, these aren't a huge vehicle by any means. They're not like what we would consider a modern SUV. An Explorer maybe, a little smaller than that. But yeah, I mean, Tesla is, right now it's for whatever reason so controversial, but 330 miles. These used to be 250 somewhere in there.
Yeah.
They've really stepped up the technology to get their batteries up 1,000 horsepower, which means nothing to me anymore. In gas-powered vehicles, I will all day long be like, holy shit, 700 horsepower in that truck. In these things, it's not exciting to me anymore, because 0 to 60 times don't excite me anymore. Now, when we've done some stuff with gas-powered, when we were in Texas last year, testing out some
you mean electric?
No, in gas-powered. When we were in Texas driving some of the gas-powered V8s and stuff, that I was like, yeah, man, like it makes sense to me. It's mechanical. These are so non-binary, or there's something, they're just like so washed out. But the king of all EVs right now is the Tesla, and 1,000 horsepower, Kelly. Could one of these be in our driveway?
I'd have to drive it to tell you.
We're just going off looks right now, though. I mean, that's what we're basing all this on.
Basing on looks, it doesn't do anything for me.
Really?
Yeah. It just really doesn't.
Just because you've kind of seen this design for a few
maybe
years?
it's because I've seen a lot of them around town. They just don't excite me at this point. I mean, the interior is nice, don't get me wrong, but you know how I am. I like the cool vehicle. I like the one that I feel like I'm getting to enjoy the full part of the car payment that I'm making too. And this just doesn't stick out for me.
Well, out of all these brands we're going to talk about tonight, Tesla set the pace for modern interiors. They really did. They went with from day one. The Series 3 have always been clean like this, just very minimal. I do like the wood grain touches that you see in this. I think that's very classy. Now, these whites for practical daily use, white seats would be the worst thing possible.
Well, and honestly, this is what we see a lot in electric vehicles. I think the most of them that we have been near or in, they all have white interior.
Your chest keeps wanting to talk.
I'm sorry. Sorry,
But no, but I
I've
think
been
that's
sitting for like 2 days. At
that's
work.
because Tesla set the pace for this, and everybody
Yeah.
kind of because why that clean look is very futuristic looking. Now Tesla has this goofy yoke thing going on. I've heard a lot of complaints about it. Even the horn is not the center anymore. It's a button over there you have to push, which is confusing. People for 100 years now know the center is the horn. Supposedly they're pushing an update that it will make the airbag area a horn again. So it's always been. It's just they took that and made it the button. I think they knew, well, if people don't like this, we can always a quick flash and we can make it a horn again. But
well, in that bothers me too when it's like a quick flash. Like we've talked about this too. Is like it scares me how easy it is to flash your vehicle to say, here's what I needed to do now
yeah,
instead of what it was. So that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother night. But that to me, from an EV perspective, makes me a little more nervous along the way because you could easily just push the button and it's done.
yeah. As you can see here, this one as configured will fit 7 people in that thing. Or I guess
Yeah, it doesn't still doesn't
six
change
comfortable.
my mind.
I know. I just the way
It's
they do
7.
the way they do 7 in these would be a nightmare to ever ride that way. And I
Mhm.
imagine you would lose a lot of range doing that. But that is your
I know Jordan mentioned the way that it opens is more SUV
yes.
like, but if you look at the side, if you'll go up the side profile, if you look at the side profile, you're still not getting what I think of an SUV back end because
Yeah.
I want to be able to,
Lots of
like the
cargo.
Bronco, I want to be able to set my suitcases up if I need to. And in this, I don't feel like I could set my suitcases up if need be.
Yeah. Well, they're not these vehicles. That's what the cool thing about multiple manufacturers. There's something for everybody. And speaking of something for everybody, the company that claims to go all EV, but yet we just talked about it. Want to talk V8 again? Is the General Motors with their Blazer? I know everybody this should love this in this in this conversation because they were just talking about the Blazer's name was misused. Well, now we have a Blazer EV, and while this thing is not out yet, I do believe they're going to make these in Spring Hill,
Interesting.
which is right down the road from us.
Used to be the Saturn plant.
Yes, if I remember right, I know they're building batteries there, but I think they're actually going to build these there. But the Blazer EV, now talk about styling. This is like somebody had a bunch of ideas and just threw them all into
You took
one.
all the Chevy vehicles and put them together.
Yeah, and just shoved it all into one vehicle.
Yeah, it is an SS badge, Mobile Moto.
Yes, and the SS for this is they're offering a high performance, kind of like the Plaid version with Tesla. They're offering a high performance version of this. Initially, Kelly, where are you at with this one?
So just so you all see the fine print there, Blazer EV is available summer of 2023, but the SS as shown is going to be available in the fall of 2023. So just so you all see that. To be honest, at first glance, I don't hate it. But I do see where you're talking about with a little bit here, a little bit there, putting it all kind of together. I like the sporty tires that are on it, the wheels. I do like the lines quite a bit, but the front end to me is just, it's almost a little throwback to me to some of the previous vehicles that we've had with just a little bit of brushing to make it a little smoother.
I mean, well, the thing with EV is you don't really need any cooling.
Yeah.
Where you'll need cooling is for vents for the brakes, stuff like that. But other than that, like you could have just a box out front and it's just going to do what it does. So I can imagine designing these things, and for any of these companies is it opens up the doors to like a lot of things that you can do, but it also complicates.
Yeah.
You would think not having to have a radiator out there to cool things, it wouldn't complicate things. But now you've got all these creative people just getting to kind of
do what they want with
it. And of course, this would be an SS, it's going to get the lower valence. They're going to try to make it look sporty. The Blazer name once again, which I'm sure in the comments down there is a bastardized version of this name, but prices of this one is pretty crazy. But so what was the Tesla 330?
Yes.
And 320
up to.
Yes. So now Chevrolet and GM in general is using they have their own battery technology they're trying to use, which if we look here, this is all battery under here. They try to do a really good job. If you look at the Hummer and all that, they try to do a really good job of trying to hide the battery packs, because instead of laying the packs flat, they stack them up like this. So I think it's maybe they get more packs that way.
Mm.
and it's probably better for cooling to do them that way, but it makes the vehicle
Maybe
taller.
there's more space in between them.
Yeah. But overall, this thing to me looks pretty good. I'm still not sold on. I feel like GM is really rushing to get their EVs up to where they need to be. You know, we have a reservation for the Silverado EV, Kelly,
Mhm.
and I'll probably never get it because they've taken, you guys thought Bronco took a long time, and it kind of did. I guess it took about a year from reservation. About 7 months in, you could do your reservation or your order, and some people were getting them in 4 months. Started getting them. General Motors with their EVs right now is a nightmare. Hummer has been trickling off the line, and I mean at maybe a dozen to 20 a day, which is ridiculous in manufacturing. General Motors is spread thin. They've went all in, like I said earlier, they've went all in on EV, but they can't produce enough batteries to spread them around. They just keep adding more models to these batteries they can't build. So I think it's a good looking car. I know Doug DeMuro did a walk around on this thing and did all the weird quirks and features of this thing, and was interesting on the inside. The typical, it looks like typical. I was hoping to find an interior picture. Typical Chevrolet. If you've seen one of their interiors, you've kind of seen them all. But where are you guys at with this one? I'm curious. And Andy, yes, it is a nice beanie. Thank you for the
Yes.
super chat, by
I
the
was
way.
gonna say thank you for the super chat. Says my head hurts and I'm 1,500 pounds overweight up front, waiting to rework the load. Shoot me now.
Hey,
Oh,
dieting, Andy. It's
and yes, nice beanie. And mine is downstairs, but I figured I'd sport the new.
yeah. We have
the new hat
we're
tonight,
working on some new
so
merch.
thank you.
I know people love hats, but I'm torn on this one. Curious comments. I think the logo is a little too big and probably needs to be dropped down a little bit. But we're prototyping this stuff.
And before you go to the next one, Cigar Texan says, on topic, buddy of mine spotted a Lucid Air the other
I know.
night.
I was talking to him earlier about that. Lucid Air is the creme de la creme of EVs. I know. What was it? Is it Porsche has their Taycan or whatever they call it? It's not Taycan. I forget what Porsche it calls theirs. It used to be kind of, to me, was the most plush, like holy cow, and then Lucid, which I know you know nothing about Lucid.
No.
Um,
I've seen a couple of pictures, but that's the extent of Lucid.
just beautiful, just artwork. Taycan. Thank you, Jordan. Or Taycan, as they say. But the Lucid is just art. It's like art on wheels, but it's also like 200 grand.
But here's the thing, like we've seen vehicles that tote to be like art on wheels and things like that. You having issues with my microphone over
Yeah,
here?
a little foamy thing was coming off.
Okay. We've seen companies tote that they are art on wheels and things like that, but this one truly is. From the pictures I've seen,
yeah,
it
Lucid.
absolutely is. It's done very, very well.
No, they're starting around 75 is what Jordan says. But yeah, you can't touch them for 75, man. I think the Air is 150, depending on how you configure it. Anyways, let's see. All right, so next up is a company that's kind of dear to my heart.
Just a little.
I've been a big fan of this company. They've helped my community out a lot. They are an import brand though. So but let's talk about, because
But most
these
of them are locally made.
these are these aren't. These are made in Japan. But this is the Nissan Ariya. Now, the Nissan Ariya, me and Danny back in our Nissan podcast days, we talked about this. We did the reveal launch of this thing, was pretty excited about it.
Nissan nerd alert. Nerd alert.
But the problem was 2020 is when they unveiled this thing. They're just now starting to get, I know my buddy Kevin Monet, he was in here earlier. He is he's a dealer trainer for Nissan. He's got one in his driveway right now because he's taking them all through California, taking them to dealerships to train on them.
Oh, but mobile said Taycan too.
Okay.
He's like, what am I, chop liver?
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Sure
I didn't see the comment.
Yes.
But the Nissan Ariya is kind of interesting to me because, you always think to the Japanese, you always think, man, they resemble the future. If you look at Tokyo is like
this one's all about going to
triple
Tokyo.
Modern New York City. If you think about it, like they are always advanced. So the idea of a Nissan, a Japanese company, their version of EV is interesting because the Leaf, they were the first to bring mass production to EV with the Leaf. Now the early Leafs, I would have owned one back then, but damn recession got in my way in 9 of me being able to order one, and they were only 90 miles at the time which is for me at the time where I worked, that would have been like a couple days could have drove, wouldn't have bothered me at all. But Nissan's kind of rested on their laurels with the Leaf a little bit. And they designed a second gen version of it, but it was just, I think it's a beautiful looking car, but it was just, by the time they did a second gen, it was kind of boring. So when they dropped this thing in 2020, me and Danny were all excited by this thing. And the problem with it is we're just now getting them. And what year is it, Kelly?
2023.
So 3 years later, it's taken to get this thing. And a lot of these companies I've noticed are taking that Tesla approach of get your deposit, let you finance the final end of this thing, and then we bring it to you. And of course, Cybertruck, supposed to see those by the end of the year, but we've heard that for 2 years now. But I think the Leaf is pretty interesting. And if I could find a there we go. Let's say gallery. So you can kind of get an idea here, Kelly, of what we're looking at. Now, where are you at with this? Is it SUV? Is it more crossover? Where are you at?
Crossover for me too. If it's even a crossover.
Yeah. And a lot of these, I'm using the word SUV kind of lightly because a lot of these have to be more of a crossover style because of aerodynamics. Yeah. But I've never really talked to you much about these. Where are you at with this thing?
I don't hate it. I know from experience, having spent a lot of time in the Nissan vehicles, I know the inside will work for me and the tacticality of what I like on it. I don't hate it. It's definitely a crossover for me, though. It is definitely not an SUV. I do, looking at the interior, it's a lot different than what I was expecting it to be honest with you. And I don't know how I feel about the temperature controls in the middle.
Well, it's a lot different than what they the prototype they launched this thing with was the interiors, a lot of lighting on the interiors, a lot of futuristic stuff to kind of different grid patterns to it. They've mellowed it out quite a bit. Nissan has a habit of that. Nissan usually, when you see their concepts at the body of them, they're generally almost 100%. But the interiors are where they kind of start playing around with concepts. And this is definitely a very watered down version of this thing. Now, being Nissan interiors, they've tried to go the Tesla route. If you look at the dash, now they've taken, which is a modern vehicle thing to do now, they're trying to blend the infotainment into the center stack, which I like. And I was told at one time you were able to, I know they don't do it, but I was told by some dealer meetings, they were talking about you could swipe things that you want in your center stack. Like you could change, hey, maybe I want the speedo over here. Let me have maybe like there was
true personalization
of making it different. But I don't believe that's happened to this one yet. Interior wise, like I said, they've tried to go that Tesla route of simple is better, but there's definitely a touch of Nissan into this thing.
Well, and honestly, we've seen this interior is very similar to the EV6 that we drove. It is very similar to the Kia that we drove. And I guess maybe that's the standard for the EV interiors these days.
Yeah. But, once again, the back of it, it's nice.
I mean, it's a commuter car.
You can see they've made sure that there's headroom in the rear of this car. The grab handles and stuff remind me of Nissan. It's not, there's not anything about this. The seats are different. The front seats are.
They remind me very centrist, though.
Maybe. But, wait, we can change the cloth. There we go. Okay, so we can change this just a little bit. There's that white Tesla clean that everybody likes in their EVs. And, that blue's kind of interesting, but, I would get tired of that quickly.
100%.
That would be a random or a spontaneous purchase that you would buy to me. And then like 6 months later go, we should have just gotten the black interior.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to drive this vehicle, and I've reached out to Nissan to try to get us an Aria because we have driven EVs, but we have limited experience with them. Charging might be a pain in the ass, but I would be interesting. I would be interested in this vehicle. Once again, pretty close to concept of this, but I like the fact Nissan needs to this. They just redid their logo, and I wish they would have done away with the whole rising sun thing. I get it; it's a play on their heritage, but the back of this thing, the way they've done Nissan cleanly, so much better to me. Just so much better. And now Toyota's kind of doing away with
they can have the best of both worlds, Dave.
Maybe. But if you look at the front of this thing, it's like, it's the size of a football. But anyways, that is the Nissan Aria. I like this thing. I'm interested to drive this thing because all the Kias and stuff we've driven have been fun. I can't say they've not been, fun to drive. And since Kelly was talking
Before
about,
you go there,
oh, sorry.
Cigar Texan says, question, is it true that you don't actually buy an EV? They are lease only. I think my understanding is that is what it used to be. Because the technology was so new, they still only would allow you to lease.
The EV1 was like that for GM. When they did that in the 90s, you could not.
Is that the electric car movie that was all about it?
That big oil killed EV tech back then.
Yep.
But yeah, initially you could only lease those. There's still people that have hidden those. And there's a couple that are.
You mean before the GPS tracking?
Well, so what they did was they leased them out for a year or two.
Yeah, and then you had to.
And they were trying to build some, trying to figure out how to make that tech work. Well, and then they wanted them back. And people loved them. I think Tom Hanks had one and just loved this thing. And they crushed all of them.
Yeah.
And so there's a few that people hid that they were able to save. But it's kind of interesting. So next up is a brand that we know a little bit about with their EV tech, which is Kia.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we did the EV6, which is, I wouldn't consider the EV6 a crossover, really. It's almost more of a car.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely a car.
But I like the EVs. Now, you could go Hyundai or the Kia, and I've been more attracted to the Kia brand. I think
I would agree.
When we were able to test drive the EV6 or the whatever the Hyundai version is, I can't think of it now. We were both attracted.
The Ioniq.
Yeah, the Ioniq 5, I think is what it's called. We were both more attracted to the Kia brand. So that's why I kind of wanted to talk
independent reviews too at that point.
Now, so we're looking at estimated range of 253 miles, which is not going to cut it.
And here's what I will tell you about EV. If you don't know this, and if you haven't watched our video, you need to go back and watch our EV video on the EV6. But everything you plug into the vehicle starts wearing down that battery. So just keep in mind as you're going, because we were sitting there in the parking lot getting ready to roll, and all of a sudden we were at, let's say we were at 205 by the time we plugged in our phone, got our stuff in, and we started to literally drive down the road. We already lost 5 miles off of it.
That when we turned on the AC, it was like lost 4% as soon as you hit the AC button, which is understandable, obviously.
Yeah, for sure, it's pulling at it, but just keep those things in mind when you're looking at this 253.
These numbers are optimal conditions, weather conditions, which is another crazy thing about them. But you know what I like about it is 0 to 60 in 7.1 seconds, or 7.1, 7.1 seconds, because that's the one thing I think EV. I know the excitement to get people into EV is like, oh, they could make this a 3-second car. The EV,
we don't have no 3-second cars.
The EV6 GT inline or whatever they called that thing, it was a 4-second car easily, which is amazing. To the silence to stomp the throttle, the accelerator, and for it to slam you back, but all you hear is just that sort of electric engine whine. It's pretty nuts. But Kia's really stepped it up. And Hyundai and Kia, in the late 2000s, they had a resurgence. They hired I can't remember the designer they hired, but I believe he was with Cadillac or somebody. Came in and just revamped their line, made them look cool. Where at Hyundai and them, they were copying a lot of Mercedes. They were just they didn't know where to, kind of like what Nissan does with the Titan. They didn't know where to they just, here, let's grab a little of everything. But the Kia logo still needs some work to me. But this one's kind of interesting to me because this is the one that looks like an SUV to me.
Within reason. I mean, it looks much more like an SUV than the other ones we've seen tonight.
But it looks like you're probably getting some more upper.
Yeah, you get a bit more cargo room, but it still is because it's so small to me, it still is in that crossover range for me.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it is so small. We've seen it in the Kia line that all the front ends tend to look quite similar as well. And I wish there was a little bit of authenticity to each of the brands or each of the models. The tail end of this one reminds me, I can't tell you off the top of my head what the tail end looks like, but it reminds me of some SUV from back in the 2000s.
If you look at the interior of this thing, looks just like the EV6.
Yeah.
Everything about it looks pretty similar, that is a thing between brands. It's not like, we've got a Bronco, all the knobs and stuff look like everything else that they build.
I will tell you, this is an adjustment. The whole, the shift.
Yes.
Is an adjustment.
That dial there for you got to
Yeah.
turn it to drive.
Because I had an EV6 on rental when Becky.
No, you had a.
No, EV6.
No, you had the EV. You didn't have the electric.
Oh, we had the EV5 then.
Yeah,
it was the EV
something like
Either
that.
way, it was the non-electric one, but we had the Kia. Like I said, it was the EV5. When we went to Bronco Off Rodeo this past summer, and honestly, that little thing it took off. But yeah, this was definitely an adjustment with the shifter in there. It was it didn't have the clean line full screen. It had two separate screens in the one I drove.
But this thing, I mean, they've done a nice, because we were just talking about the Nissan. This is a little more, I don't know, more interesting to me than the Aria. There's just a little, like the Aria was
The
very
interior, yes.
The Aria was like if you took Tesla and this and kind of found a middle ground between those two. This is a little more interesting to me. Now, all these haptic buttons I do not like.
Well, and I like a little bit of actual buttoning there.
Yes.
So you do have two buttons there that you can at least work with. But yeah, to me, I want a little more tacticality with it.
Yes. But overall design of this thing, pretty interesting. I did find that the EV6 that we were in, the seating position was really nice. As you can see, I mean, there's the headliners and stuff are going to be.
And it had charging in the seats, in the side seats too.
Yeah, that's right. In the back of the seats. I don't know if we can see that on this one. But yeah, that's right. There was charging ports in the sides of the seats, which was interesting. But hey, we're going to grandma's house. Hey kids, don't plug your phone in or we're never going to make it to grandma's house.
Might have to stop 3 times. Are we there yet?
Right. But overall, you dig this one? Yes, no?
It's going to have to grow on me. It's the tail end for me that I just don't know.
That two-tone right there, that's a weird, it's kind of a weird thing. But all right. So there.
I don't think I would buy it.
Really?
Yeah.
What about the EV6 though?
It's too small for me.
No, but I'm talking, we're talking daily. We're a 3-person family anymore. Our son doesn't really go with us anywhere. So size doesn't necessarily.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I think daily.
This is from the person who needs a third row seating because she wants the damn Explorer or Expedition with like 16 rows of seating.
You leave my wishes alone. No, but I think from a daily, you've got to think about the grocery getter and the things like that too. And I just don't know that would, in the scheme of things, work for us. And I like to be a little more. I know. I like to be a little more spread out, and I feel like it's just I'm a big girl, and it's a little snug for me on a daily.
Well, and speaking of, let's see what the Germans are up to because this is a vehicle that we've not got to monkey around with just yet. I want to say the car version of this was at the last press event we were at, but
we just didn't have time.
But we didn't have time, and honestly, the thing with Volkswagen that makes them interesting, also to me makes them boring, is they're plain. They try to appeal to the masses. Everything about their vehicles is very, I don't know, not controversial. We'll say the sides of these panels are very flat. Obviously there's stuff for aerodynamics about this vehicle, but they don't try to outsmart their audience. They know their audience, and this thing is kind of interesting. Now, the interior of this thing is kind of a cross between, I hate to keep crossing this, but we'll say between the Nissan Aria and the Kia that we just saw. It's somewhere in between there. I don't like this tiny little screen here. For whatever reason, that's just not for me. Being Volkswagen, like I said, they're very minimalist. It might be a German thing. I don't know. Very less is more.
Yeah, like Nurse AJ said, like the Volvo, classy, boring, safe.
Oh, girl, I got a Volvo coming. But yes, overall, I mean, look, you can put your finger up there and push buttons.
Oh my gosh, for real?
I mean, look, and that same finger can push this button over here. I'm kidding, Volkswagen, by the way. I mean, this is it's just like this screen to me is just kind of, I don't know.
You know what this looks to me? This looks, go back. This looks like a 90s version of the screen. It was like, ooh, look, we're now digital.
Or a
This is what it looks
Star
like.
Trek Next Generation. This is what they thought the vehicles were going to look like.
Yes, that's it.
Like,
That's it. No offense, Volkswagen, but that's
Yeah.
just how
but
it feels.
look at 100% there, 275 miles. What have we seen now? Like Tesla, we started out with Tesla for a reason because they're the king of the mountain for these things. 333 miles. These other manufacturers, you can tell they're late to the game, right?
Yeah.
And I don't mean that like disparagingly, but you can just tell they're sort of like,
it just is what it is.
Yeah, they're late to the game. But overall, I mean, it's not a bad looking vehicle.
I was going to say, for me, it's not a bad looking vehicle from the side. Typically the Volkswagens we've seen have been, like Nurse AJ, kind of boring, but this one, honestly, this one steps out a little bit for me.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't think
the back end to me.
I didn't think I would this one would be on your list of that you liked at all.
Although it's still not an SUV.
No, but remember, with EV, it's all about economy. It's aerodynamics. You know, you're going to see large EVs coming, but I don't think we're quite there just yet.
The front end doesn't quite do it for me as much as the rear does. I don't know why. It just seems stream. Maybe, you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of the back end of a Durango a little bit.
A little bit. Okay.
I think that's why it stands out to me and why I like it, because I like Durangos.
Yeah, I can see that. A lot of plastics. That's something seems like Volkswagen loves, is to go a lot of plastic on there. Front end, once again, aerodynamics. It's all about that. You don't need a lot of cooling. Not a bad looking vehicle though.
No, this view, I don't like it as much on this view as I have in the red. Like I like the red more on this.
Maybe the way the red breaks up the blacks, or something like that.
This to me just screams like, hey, I'm an EV and I need to cover all this up.
Jordan says the Rivian 1S R1S for Kelly. Then, well,
we shall see.
We shall see, because I have one of those coming up. So we might as well just, since Jordan talked about it, let's go ahead and bring up. This is the brand that decided to make. I think Rivian. I've said this many times with the truck. They took the classic design of. What are you doing?
What did I do? I don't know what I did.
There we go. They've taken a classic outline of a vehicle and kind of made it a little futuristic. And now you're a big fan of Rivian trucks. You really, I am. When you saw your first one at the Nashville Speedway last summer, you were like, because you don't pay attention to a lot of these kind of outlier brands.
No.
You became a fan of Rivian real quick.
And I'll be honest, I like this a lot. Like, I don't know.
This is kind of your first time seeing it too,
This
right?
is the first time I'm seeing it. So the front end to me, that's the only thing that I kind of like, meh, but that's on the Rivian itself. Like the Rivian truck, that's how it is too. But I think the whole thing put together, if I could change the shape of the lights, like the oval lights for me just don't quite get it for me. But I get that that's Rivian. Like, but that's part of Rivian.
I think that's part of what I think was, though, they've taken the class, because that's a classic SUV shape.
Yeah.
Like 100%. You would look, it almost is like an old school Expedition.
Oh, 100%.
Like from the early 90s. That, I mean, that outline of that is very, but it's like here's our interpretation of that vehicle.
Yes.
Now, aerodynamics, once again, needs to play a role in it. Seating, and this is more of a true SUV.
This could totally sit in our driveway.
Seating position is important.
Yeah.
Being Rivian, they really attention to details of this thing. But
what we've seen with the interiors with the Rivian truck, they've done a good job at it as well. So I would expect it to translate over to this with the SUV. Yes, this is the first time I've seen this tonight, and yeah, I'm a fan.
Right. And as you can see, it's a body on frame construction, which is actually kind of cool, because a lot of times it's more like their unibodies. Now they do an outline of a frame, but this is more of a body on frame construction, which I like a lot. Specs 0 to 60. Once again, this is one of those goofy things that they have to do. You have to have it look fast, because you don't want to,
look, you can wait at 3 feet.
Nice. But this is one of those things where you have to make it look fast, but at no point you're doing that once or twice to show off in front of your company that's with you.
And then you realize,
never do it again.
Well, and you realize how much battery it took to get to that 3
At no point to me is this, I guess I should show the picture of it. At no point to me is this a vehicle that I need 3-second launches. You know, I think at some point that the newness of that wears off. Once again, you're going to be hyperspeed before long, and you're going to push the gas, and you're going to, you know, come back a year later, you'll be in the same spot going, where did I just go? But I think if they start taming this down to maybe preserve battery life a little bit, this could be a 5-second SUV, and I don't think anybody would ever complain about it. Now, journalists, you know, your snob journalists that we have to deal with from time to time they would rub their nose at, oh, it's not with the Tesla, or it's not this. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's also a box on wheels.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have to break this thing. Now, EVs are heavy, so I don't want to have to take off or trying to get through a yellow light and then plow somebody, you know, your damn
imagine the insurance.
Well, that's a whole nother monster to these things.
So yeah, Nurse AJ said, or somebody said, I think it was Nurse AJ. It was Mobile Moto. Sorry, we're not giving you any kind of credit tonight. My bad. Yeah, it does look like a Grand Wagoneer to me.
Yeah, definitely. Because there's
I love me a Grand Wagoneer,
like a mini version of that, and there's just some classy touches that, like the little chrome trim here. I'm not big on chrome, but to make this, because this is an expensive vehicle, we'll see what the I forget what the specs are where they start out, but let's see. Let's
There's
just
your specs right there.
Let's hit reserve. $1,000, which is very smart. Hey, Ford, you should have done this with Bronco, and you wouldn't have had all those. You would have weed out some orders.
Deliveries are expected to begin in 2024.
Yeah, not giving you my email.
Go back. Hit your X. I was gonna say, dang.
I know.
Hit your specs right here. Number 5. Maybe it's there.
Nope. That's just performance of it. But they're in the 90s for this, which is a lot of money for these things. Once again, now these upstarts, which is kind of a bummer for these upstarts, they don't have other vehicles paying for this. You know, you don't have that old school car paying for the modern tech of this to bring it to light. The thing we've seen too with sorry, Kevin. These shows started. We tried to start them a little bit earlier. We did talk about your.
He knows. He said he went back and looked at it. Thank
Aria.
You for the super chat, by the way.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Backed up and watched the Aria. Have top of the line here, and it's
Kevin.
fast.
I've reached out for an Aria, by the way.
Yes,
so we'll see.
We have.
I will say, but once again, to go and wind it down with the Rivian, we're off-road people. This is this version of this one here is very off-road oriented. You can tell they've given a lot of consideration to your departure angles and your approach angles and stuff. You're putting an aggressive tire on it. I do remember I did a build and price on the truck version of this. And when you go with these off-road tires and stuff, it kills the battery.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like I forget what it was. You lost quite a bit of battery with this thing. Out of all of that you've seen so far, Kelly, where would this one rank for you?
Oh, this is 100% number 1 for me.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just is it more because it looks like a SUV?
Yes, 100%. It looks more like an SUV. It's more practical for our life in what we do. It just
we could go to the ball field, which is like a quarter of a mile away in this.
Soon it's going to be about 1.25 miles away, sir. But yeah, no, this to me is more spread out. I feel better about like sitting in it. I feel maybe that's the problem with the other ones that I see is that that they are so much smaller. And to me, I like to have a bigger vehicle enveloping me.
Yeah. Man, Jordan's demanding. Show the interior. Look, it's already broke down.
That's the frunk.
Oh, that's what that is. I thought it was broke down already.
No. There's some of the interior.
Yeah, here we go. No, their interiors are vegan
leather. Shut up. I was just about to say that.
I wish there it is. I was like, their interiors are great.
And I like the split.
Wow, this site for this one is pretty horrible.
Heck yes, bring me the panoramic roof.
Yeah, but they do a lot of wood. I like that a lot. I think it's cool to you're trying to promote.
It reminds me of the
environment.
I was gonna say, and it reminds me of a much poshier vehicle.
Yeah. But capabilities you saw. Where was it? You saw it just a minute ago.
What?
There it is. 3 foot of water forging. Not that I need water forging.
I mean, that's 36 inches. What do we get in the Bronco? Like 31?
I don't remember, 31 or 2, something like that. Color wise, they do actually offer some interesting.
You mean they're not all blue?
I know. Hey, Ford. Not everybody wants gray.
Ooh, I want that gray.
Just was bitching about gray, and what are you doing?
Ooh, I don't know if is it that gray or the other gray.
Anyways, Kelly starts seeing this thing, she's going to be wanting to talk about it forever.
True story.
Yep. So I want to wind up with this one here. The Ford Mustang. Now, is this truly?
You didn't talk about the Volvo. Go back.
Oh, wait,
come back.
I'm sorry.
Go to the Volvo because you already told Nurse AJ we were talking about the Volvo.
There it is. There's the EX90. One of the safest probably vehicles in the world.
And I think it's terrible. It reminds me of the 90s and what they thought an EV vehicle was going to look like.
Look at the seating in this position. It looks just like that Tesla.
Yeah, it's absolutely just like
that Tesla. But it's very Volvo-like. I'll give it that. Needs a little bit something to break this front up. Even if it was just a black-looking grill, not a grill, obviously, but just something that.
Nothing like telling me who a lot of your market is. Let's grow old and wise together.
Yep. That is
kind of cool.
That is it winked at us.
Fancy.
I don't want
do it again.
I don't want a car winking at us.
Do it again. Do it again.
It's like, hey, what a sales tactic.
No shit.
Could you imagine me at the Volvo dealership and that the guy has just the button in his hand, the salesperson, and they just click it. You're like, that's the car. It winked at me. Like that car was calling to me.
And then I go, do it one more time if you want him to buy it. And he goes, what, sir? What are you talking about?
Yeah. Pretty interesting. Since Volvo was taken over, since Ford sold them off, they've really, between them and Jaguar, they have freedom to make interesting Volvo choices. I was trying to find here we go. It's more of a crossover once again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with EV, it's hard to say anything is, pure like the Rivian, like what you would consider a modern take on that. But
electric range up to 300.
Easter eggs, because I've not seen enough freaking Easter eggs in my life. Will it fit? No great pictures of the interior. Let's see here.
There's some. Oh, I like that.
Really?
I do like that though.
Once again, there's
if you're going to take my tactical buttons away, I like the big 12 or 14 inch screen.
Tiny. I mean, it's more about don't be distracted driving.
Yeah.
I get that. I totally get that. But then you got this big distraction over here, pretty interesting.
You've got the dial again. You've got the dial again for shifting.
For shifting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bowers and what?
Wilkins.
Oh, Wilkins. I thought it said Winks. I was like, is that the winking?
Look, this is all the points that here. Let me go back to that.
Speakers.
No,
it was showing you.
That's where all it takes your money from there. So all your Bitcoin, it's sucking your Bitcoin out right there.
Yeah, because it's listening to every word you say.
Mm-hmm. But it's it's Volvo, so this thing is going to be safe as hell. Now the range of this is pretty new, so I don't want to go too deep in that because that is a fairly new vehicle. But I wanted to show a little bit of here's what the world is kind of doing. As we wind this up, as I tried to do this earlier.
Well, you didn't cover the Volvo, so
I know. But the Mach-E. Now, is this an SUV? No,
absolutely not.
Kind of a crossover. Now, this is blasphemy, in my opinion, that they called this a Mustang. I understand why they did it. It's a brand. It's a kind of car brand name that they could sort of push into this. People go, oh, Mustang. Oh, they're doing an electric version of that. It's marketing 101. Totally get it. I think I would have just called it the Mach-E, and I think it would have been a much better name. And I think, honestly, in 5 or 8 years, they pull the Mustang name off this, and it's just the Mach-E. I think it was just to get people. Nissan did it with Pathfinder when they brought the Armada out. They called it the Pathfinder Armada. And it's to push their audience into a new vehicle.
Well, and I'll be honest,
we're honest a lot.
We are honest a lot. Speaking of honest, where is honest?
His mother passed away, by the way. So
please send your thoughts to him.
Yes.
But when we're talking about this anyway, when it first came out, people were like, "Ooh, I need to get the new," like you said, need to
We
get the
saw
new
this at the
Mustang.
Chicago Auto
We
Show
did
in
see this
20.
at the Chicago Auto Show, and you never saw my video. I think I put together.
Did we do one on this?
I actually did one on the Mustang Mach-E.
You were all about
I just
the
never did
Infinity,
anything with it.
Infinity QX80 at that show.
That is true. However, I did also do a walk around of this one. But it came out and people were like, "Ooh, I got the new Mustang. Ooh, I got the new Mustang.
But
Ooh, I got the new Mustang." And
Mhm.
knowing that it was the Mach-E, other people were like, "What a blasphemy." And then other people are like, "This thing is amazing." Like, we've actually talked to people that are like, "Hey, my wife really wants a Mach-E. Like, she's sat in it. It's great." I'll be honest, I would probably drive this.
anytime Kelly says, "I'll be honest," you guys need to take a shot.
Oh no, that's scary.
I know, because I've noticed tonight you say it a lot.
I would probably drive this.
Yeah, no, it's very sporty looking. I like that they gave it some hips. You know, it looks a little sporty. Obviously, it does reminiscent of the Mustang a little bit. There was no need for this grill, but they gave it something because, hey, it's a pony car. Very sporty wheels, you know, and some models lease at 606. I love that. Like, 20 years ago, they would have never. It would have been exact, not some. It would have been starting models 606.
Disclaimers.
Seating for 5 in this thing, so you're not going to get all those 8 passengers or 7 passengers like some of the
GT
other
Performance Edition model shown.
That's right, because sometimes you want to go zoomy in this thing. Taillights of this thing very Mustang like. Where are you at with this? And Kelly, could you drive? What is the deal with Ford? What is the deal with the butts in these ads? Could you drive this one?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interior is very, very familiar to this vehicle. I like the fact that they knew the volume knob. Let's actually.
Is that what that is?
Yes. Give it a physical knob. No, because it's all touchscreen. Distracted driving. You know how you just reach for things? It's easy to turn.
No, I get it, but it's like massive.
Yeah.
I would drive that color right there too.
Well, it's rapid red. Of course you would.
Yep.
But yeah, no, this thing to me looks great. Out of all of them, is it the cheapest? I guess probably 45,000 is kind of where it starts out. Range, I don't. Oh, let's see if we can find the range.
It's rapid red.
I told you it was.
Oh, they even called it rapid red.
Look, Kelly, here's your knob.
That's massive.
Well, you know, there's a finger. Let's see. Let's see where it starts out a little bit. Potential savings.
At the top. It said at the top what it was started at.
Current offers. Wait, here, let's do this. Let's go build and price. That'll show us real quick. I
don't want to see your build and price.
I'm not going to do a build and price, but so it starts out at 45,000. As you can see, we're going to go all the way to the GT is at 63,000. Starting out.
You know what I want.
What do you want?
I want the GT. Of course I want the GT.
Why?
Because
those wheels are horrible.
You know what comes with the GT is all the extra little smooth things that make it
the smooth things. Now I will say, out of all of these,
I'm bougie AF though.
Out of all of these, if you want, look, I do like it. Look, 3.8 seconds for the extended range.
3.5.
But look at the miles, 260 or 270.
I know you lose it because it's a sport.
Yeah. Once again, the mileage on these things needs to be worked out a little bit. I think Ford, with their the way they can bring things to market quick.
Wait, I have a question. Okay. Go back.
Sorry. I'm getting there. Damn it.
It's down there. Scroll down.
There you go. There it is.
Okay. Right. So do you see it says the extended range battery is 270 miles. And then it says the extended range battery is 260 miles.
All-wheel drive.
But they're both all-wheel drive.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're getting the cape. This is what's going to screw you up for.
No, I know what it is. I'm just saying they're calling it the extended range battery, but it's not really the extended range battery.
Well, okay, so let's go back. Let's go back to all the models. Let's look at the basic model here. Let's hit order. So, 0 to 60.
247 and 224.
So you're getting more.
Yeah, I guess.
But you're not. I know what you're saying is
Yeah, don't call it an extended range when you're actually losing.
Well, you're not losing compared to these. Here's standard range, rear wheel drive, 247. I don't think that's for me. I mean, I guess for daily, if you all these vehicles, if you look at daily use of these things, you're like, I don't drive. We know right now the way since you work from home, we don't drive 240 miles a week. So I can kind of understand that, but at the same point, since we're not driving those miles, we're not buying gasoline either right now, right?
Yep, that's true.
So, but so Tesla, for what we've seen so far, is the leader for range. Probably, honestly, probably tech wise as well. I think for what you're getting now, you're going to be $60,000-$80,000 for one of those Teslas. Where probably the Ford version is probably the most practical kind of entry level SUV ish.
What is?
Probably the Ford, in my opinion, out of all of them. It's probably maybe the Kia. I didn't look at the price of the Kia, but it might be pretty competitive. Where are you at with all the ones you've seen tonight? Which one would be number one? What would be number two?
Rivian would be number one, and Mach-E would be number two.
Really? Just because the Rivian is more.
I like the Rivian because it actually looks like a truck. Like it actually looks like an SUV. Like there's more bulkiness to it. And I like the Mach-E because it's more sporty. So the two complete opposite reasons of it.
Jordan wants to work for Lucid, I can tell. I'm going to bring up Lucid.
You might help if you spell it right.
Probably. Because Jordan is so about these. We're going to talk about this for just a second. There is the Lucid Air, Kelly. These things are honestly, these are a piece of art. I think they outdo Tesla in almost every category. Their range 516 miles.
Wow.
Starting though. Whew, what is that price?
$138,000.
The touring version is a bargain at $107,000.
Oh well.
They are going to build what they're going to call a cheaper version. Look, there's $250,000 for that one. Whew. Look at the 205 miles an hour though.
Holy crap! Yes, please.
I believe this is what I've seen Doug DeMuro and Jay Leno and a few of them get to poke around. Was something like this. The performance looks great. Honestly, once again, to me, these are a piece of art. I love.
You could get lines that smooth.
Yeah, I love these things. The interior wise, it's hard to see, but look, there's no pillar there. It's all glass through here, which is great.
So the pillar's above your head.
Let's see, accept all. You're going to start seeing this now. Cadillac's been playing with this, extending these things out. I think it's honestly for more battery space to give you more battery. But these kind of extended where there is no trunk really anymore. They're all going to be hatchbacks. Let's see. I've never been on their website, so I'm trying to.
You're in stories, that's why.
No, but I was just trying to figure out. There we go. There is the Air Grand Touring, starting at 138,000. Kelly.
Only.
We'll take two of those.
Largest frunk of any electric car.
I hate the name frunk. I hate that. That's just awful to me.
3,500 fast chargers across the United States. 516 miles EPA.
Yep. Pretty nice, man. They're definitely pushing Tesla.
There's your
pure Jordan. So still a nice 480 horsepower.
Oh, look, you lose 0.8 seconds to go up to the Grand Touring. Well, you go from 3.8 to 3.0 for twice the price almost. Yep.
Look at this though. Approximate time to charge 200 miles, 15 minutes. Now, if you're planning your trips and say Cracker Barrels or whatever on your way, and they have charging ports there, that starts getting practical.
Yeah.
Of charging times. Now, what it's not telling you is it's probably a 800 whatever watt, what I forget how they rank these
There's
things.
a little 3, so you know
I
there's going to
know.
be a footnote.
But it's probably a hyper, electrocute you, your family, and everything else, charging. But pretty freaking nice. You're going to get the single motor with that one, and there's a dual option. I think I think single motors perfectly fine. But pretty nice cars. If we were talking about cars, probably Lucid would be on my top of my list.
If we were talking about cars.
Yes, if we were discussing cars, but we weren't. So
Jordan said 750-volt charging architecture.
Okay. I knew
Sounds like Jordan just wants to do an art or do a
I know Bronco
episode
Talk
just
Live
on Lucid.
It's just going to turn into Bronco Talk Live is now Lucid Talk Live.
Be next Thursday's show.
Yep. Thank you, Valley Dude, for saying that. Yes,
Yes,
smash the like button for us. We greatly appreciate that. We've so as we wind this one down, I know I promised Kelly around an hour, and we're already at hour 20. So Kelly and I will be at the Chicago Auto Show next week. I've put a questionnaire up. I don't software's acting
They
silly.
said they lost us for a minute there too, so I don't know.
No, definitely. Tycon is. I like the sound that it makes too, Jordan. That kind of Jetson sound. Let me pull this up because I created a question. I was curious about what you guys. So we'll be at Chicago. I'm curious. I don't know. I haven't gotten any of the final press releases on what's to be released, but there'll be some fun there. Let's see. Let's see if we can if I can figure this out. I've done these questions and they never work out.
End Q&A. It was there.
Oh man. Let's see.
There it is.
Maybe. There it is. Oh, it removed all the questions.
Oh.
YouTube, you got to make this better, man. That's awful.
Sorry, we lost all your Q&As.
We did. But if you have any questions, put them in there. So I'm curious. Ford has something I know coming up. Toyota has, it might be the Highlander, whatever. So Highlander, we didn't get this invite, but guess where Highlander is going to be the drives at, the first drives? Just take a guess out of somewhere in America. It's gonna upset you.
Many of places would upset me. Hawaii,
Yep.
for real?
Yep. Oh. Toyota's taking journalists to Hawaii.
Sure.
They did that for Tacoma as well, though. Hey, Toyota, come on, we love you.
Trust me, I'd have a Sequoia in my driveway.
Yep, if they weren't $90,000. But I don't know what we're going to see at Chicago. Now, some of these vehicles we talked to about tonight, definitely we're going to see. We'll do some walkarounds. We'll talk to some engineers or whoever is at the well, it'll just be PR. We'll talk to some PR people at the show about try to get some insight into it. But let's see. Yes, Bird Dog Overland will be over at Chicago Auto Show.
Yes.
He's covering that. Let's see. Allie beat me to it. Where was it?
I don't know. Lucid Nation. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Oh,
that's what I was talking about.
Yep, Lucid Nation. But I'm excited. It's been a while since we've done an auto show because of the whole pandemic thing. We just started getting into them, and then the world shut down for a while. Then last year was going to be a pain in the ass to us because Chicago still had all these goofy restrictions. And then when our friends got there and we pulled out of going, they were like, "Yeah, there really weren't any restrictions," and you're like, "Effort." So yeah, we're back to auto shows. I'm happy to travel again. Yes. Texas last year's last time fall we got to travel. Well, I know Giordano's Pizza. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, me too.
Yes.
Maybe a good hot dog from Chicago.
We haven't had one.
No,
we haven't done the hot dog thing.
That's why gotta get a hot dog there. Let's see. We're gonna see a lot. There won't be. I don't know that there'll be a happy hour next Thursday. If so, it might be last minute. I might try to grab some press friends and try to get in on that. Maybe. Bird Dog Overland dropping the the super sticker. We greatly
Thank
appreciate that.
you. Appreciate
And
that.
once again, we appreciate all the memberships that you guys have done. It greatly helps fund us to get to the Chicago Auto Show. Remember, this is not a full-time production for us just yet. So when you guys do that, I added another level of memberships. If you do it, you do it. If you don't, you don't. I'm not doing anything more special. I've had people go, "Hey, I don't want to go to Patreon. I want to donate a little bit more." So we've added a $10 version. Basically, YouTube gets their hands all over it. We might, see 6.5 of that. But it is what it is. So we greatly appreciate that. All the super chats, very appreciative of that. Any final thoughts, Kelly?
I appreciate it. We've had fun tonight talking to EVs.
Yep. And Monday night we have Mr. Jordan talking to us in the chat himself live from King of Hammers.
Your dog said it's for my Tito's.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
I'm down to this is gonna like
Wow.
I'm down to my big bottle of Tito's. So I
Did Honest
appreciate
send
it.
that to you?
No, this is one you bought for me at the liquor store. I've drank Honest's bottle already.
If I start any more live shows, she's gonna be we're gonna have to put her in AA.
Oh, since I drank so much. I drink with you guys on Mondays and Thursdays. That's my extent of drinking for the week. So
Yep. So will it be two-wheel drive?
four-wheel drive.
Does it matter what you drive, Kelly?
Well, it doesn't usually, but tonight it did because we are tonight.
We are, and we are out. Peace, everybody. See y'all Monday night.
See ya.
See you Saturday.
Oh, he'll see you Saturday.
For,
Micah, thank you for that super chat as well as we're closing out. Thank you. Hold on.
Gotta bring it up. We greatly appreciate that.
Yes,
thank you so much.
We appreciate it very much.
We appreciate you guys. So let's try to do this. Peace.
Bye.